one of the major turning points for me, at least before I went into the real world of architecture, was meeting Wanda Delacosta. So I'd never really met a professor that was relatable in the way that she was, somebody that had a similar cultural background experience to me and was doing architecture in a different way that actually served the user and the community more directly versus after the fact. So I think that had a huge impact on what I now do and what I'm interested in pursuing, as I go further into the field, which is, there's a lot of different routes to take. So I think she helped me discover that was not.
Yeah. And so building off of that, what got you interested in architecture in the first place?
My dad was actually pursuing architecture. So that's how I learned about architecture, and I really didn't think about it before that.
What are your core values, and how do you feel those are reflected in the work that you do?
So I guess past, present, and future as part of how I approach my practice and projects in general. I think in addition to that, being value-centric about it, trying to understand a specific project and clients or stakeholders' needs and wants and priorities for a project, and making sure that that is in tune with a set of values that they will be upon, to make sure that the project is both qualitative and quantitatively successful. And then phasing projects as well, so thinking about the evolution or the life cycle. Design process, I usually like to spend a lot of time, depending on the scale of the project, with the client or defining collaborating to define the story of the project and the priorities. The values can be defined over time, I feel, in the design process. What is inspiring about him is his ability to create a textured architecture, which provides a contrast to the status quo of architecture that we see in our daily lives. For example, we're surrounded constantly by artificial materials, and I think it depends on what project I'm pursuing. So the project is something related to my identity and my community. I typically try to organize stakeholders or consultants that I can talk with to see what would be viable in that specific situation. For example, my grant project, which is focused on Yaqui identity in the built environment, whereas if I had a client, obviously that's a different conversation, and that's a slightly different process of their calling, in a way, set parameters based off budget, site, things like that they already give you, whereas the other one's a little bit more open-ended, and I would say has the opportunity to evolve in more directions than the client. So I would say it really depends on the project type.
Right, of course. So the last question, what advice would you give to a young student moving forward?
As a young student, I would suggest, or not really suggest, but I guess realize that you will have to self-teach yourself most of your skills. So if you want to have a diverse skill set or a technical skill set, you will need to invest your own personal time into that. I think certain jobs can help direct you towards certain expertises or programs, skill sets, or other tactile skill sets, but I think you really need to, as an individual, strategize and explore which skill set you would like to work towards, because you need to basically, I always forget the saying of how long it takes for you to become an expert. Think about it in that sense, whatever you're giving your energy to as a student or even as a professional, that's the skill set you're going to evolve. So if you are constantly working in SketchUp or AutoCAD or any program, whatever one you spend your most time in is where you have the most amount of skill set. Almost those bar graphs showing how your energy is spent. So, and then that relates to your skill. Talent doesn't necessarily fall into, I feel like, being a self-taught designer. Talent is additive, I would say, more of a natural inclination for some people, but I think you can have a more advanced skill set if you bring your energy. That's what I would suggest. Just be mindful of where you're putting your energy. So when you're why don't I have skills? You're putting your energy towards something.
Right, exactly.
Just think of it like